Hi everyone, I'm Terry, and this is the Yarnjoy podcast, episode number 140. Welcome. Well, I have lots of finished objects to show you today, and some works in progress, as always. So let's get started. Okay, so for my finished objects, I finally figured out and finished the SpongeBob hat. Now, this is a preemie hat going that will be added to my goal of making 3 hats per month to donate in October for one of the area hospital NICUs for their Halloween hat drive. So this is for February. This is preemie hat number 2 for the month, okay? And it is the SpongeBob inspired hat by Sarah Zimmerman of Repeat Crafter Me. Okay, so I had the body part done for a couple of weeks, 2 or 3 weeks, I guess. But then I was having a hard time with the eyes. I made the eyes with worsted weight yarn. It came out too big because I was sizing down the hat for preemie size. And I used a reduced hook size for the eyes, but my eyes were still coming out too big. So I tried them with worsted. They were too big, wouldn't have had room for the face. And so then I tried them with baby yarn and smaller hook, and they were still too big. And so I pulled out my crochet thread, which is size number 10 cotton, which is like the doily type thread, and I made eyes from that. I also made his teeth from that crochet thread also to make them down small enough. And then for his tie right here, I actually used some leftover very tiny red yarn that I had, like probably, well, actually, it came in the Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer crochet kit, the real small characters. Well, that red yarn was some leftover from that kit, and it was very small. And so I made the tie with that, and then stitched on the smile and the nose. And so anyway, he is done, and I'm happy with the way he turned out. He definitely looks like who he's supposed to look like, so that's good. So finished object number 1 is preemie hat number 2 for the month of February. Okay, next up is finished object number 2, which is my Scrappy Granny Throw. This is the crochet along that I was hosting that many of you are taking part in, so I'm very happy and excited about that. So I finished mine, so let me show it to you. Okay, so last week I had the squares all sewed together, but I just didn't have the border yet. So I have since, let me hold it up here so you can see. I have since put the border on. So here is my blanket. Okay, now I will bring it up closer so then you can see the border. I put a shell border, if you can see that. And I did do a tutorial on this border, and it is on my channel, and so you can find it on there. I will post in the description box below all the links to all the patterns that I did, the SpongeBob hat, and then this one, and from here on out. For this episode, I will post links. Okay. So I will post a link to the tutorial that I did for this shell border. It is actually the shell border that came with the pattern, the rectangles and squares pattern by Inspirations. I mean, not Inspirations, Yarnspirations. Okay, but it inspired me to do this because I did basic granny for the squares and the rectangles instead of the one called for in the pattern. But then I used the layout was similar to theirs, okay, that I used. And then I did use their shell border. Okay, so that is finished object number 2 is this lapgan, okay? Okay. Finished object number 3 is the Santa. Now this is the Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer kit. Here is the box that I picked up from Amazon, and there's 12 characters, patterns in this kit. The kit came with yarn to make Santa and Rudolph, and then but it also had this book in there, a pattern book, and it's got 12 characters in total. All of those right there, and all of those. Okay, so this is February. There's 12 characters, so I was wanting to do one character per month until up to Christmas, and then I'll have the set. Okay, so in January I did Rudolph. So here's Rudolph, and all the yarn, the hook, even the stuffing came in the set. Even his little red bead for a nose. So I did him in January, and then the next one in the book, because I'm just going in order of the patterns that are in the book. The next pattern was Santa. And so here is Santa. Last week I had his body, but he didn't have his arms, and he didn't have his beard or hat. And so I've got him all put together now. So here they are together. And this, like I said, the yarn and everything was included to make these two characters. So from now on, I will have to get the yarn myself, but I do have the patterns. Okay, so this is for January, this is for February, and so I will give you a sneak peek of March. Of course, I have not started it yet because it's not March yet, but the next pattern will be Clarice, which is the female reindeer, Rudolph's girlfriend. And so that's the one I'll be working on. So stay tuned. Okay, so that was finished object number 3. Okay, now finished object number 4. Let me put these over there. Okay, finished object number 4 is actually a project I've been working on in my series Whip Wall Wednesday. Okay, so Whip Wall Wednesday episode number 1, I showed these 4 squares that I wanted to finish up and get off of my whip wall. Okay, and then so yesterday yeah, I filmed Whip Wall Wednesday number 2, and it is showing that I completed that project. So I will show it as a finished object, but if you want to find out about how I put it together, what stitches I used, and how I designed it, then please go over and check out that video. I will link it below in the description box. Okay, so here is my project. This is a doll blanket that I used 4 squares, those 4 squares, and then I added to it, as you can see, and put them together. Let me hold it up here, see? And I put a border around the whole entire thing. Okay, see, there's a border. And so anyway, this will be a doll blanket that will be given to a big sister, okay? Okay, so like I said, if you want to know details about this project, please go over and watch that video that I will link below. The Whip Wall Wednesday number 2 talks about how I put that together. Okay. Okay, now so that is my finished object. So now works in progress. Okay, so since I finished the shawl that I was working on it was the comfort shawl. What was it, last week I had that as a finished object? Yes. Okay, so I wanted to, I kind of got in on a roll as far as using some mandala cakes that I had. So I started another mandala cake project. This is another shawl. It's a shawl that I found on the Lion Brand website. It's called the Fringed shawl. Okay, I'm doing it a little bit different than what it's saying, than the pattern. Okay, the Lion Brand mandala yarn that I'm using is the Wizard colorway, and so far, see, that's how much I've used. It's got a big hole there in the middle. Anyway, this is the Fringed shawl, and so this will also qualify as the Season of the Granny project, because it is the granny stitch, as you can see. So anyway, basically it's this long rectangle, okay? And so the shawl is going to go here behind your back, and then it basically would be like this, okay? And so right now I'm just going around just the basic granny square. See? Okay, so basic granny square until the granny square stitch until it gets a good width. Actually, I'm aiming just for a good width this way, so then it will be more like a shawl and not a scarf size, which pretty much that's what it is right now. And if you needed a scarf, this would be a cool scarf pattern, I think. If you wanted to just stop at a scarf, see? That would be very pretty. So, anyway, this, like I said, I am aiming for it to be a shawl, and this will be another donated item that I will be donating to the nursing home if I can get the size to come out right. Now, I will pop in a picture here as far as what the pattern is supposed to look like, okay? Okay, so as you can see, that picture, the shawl is quite long, and so what I didn't want it to come out that long, okay, because I'm thinking for an item for a nursing home, I'm just thinking, you know, that a senior citizen would like something not quite as long to get hung in anything, but to have something with coverage around the shoulders and around the back. And so what I did in that, the pattern, it had a starting row where it would have 45 shell stitches all the way across on each side, okay, of the starting chain. Okay, well, this one I did it where there was 35 shells instead of 45 shells. Now, I was just guessing as far as what the length is going to turn out. I'm hoping that will mean that it won't hang down quite as far, and I will not be putting the fringe on it, even though it's called the Fringed shawl. I'm not going to put the fringe on it because I wouldn't want the fringe to get stuck into like a wheelchair or whatever. And so I'm hoping that me starting with 35 shells across will be sufficient. And then as far as the lengthwise, and I'm just basically working on the width. Okay. Anyway, this is the colorway, and like I said, it is the colorway Wizard, and I think it's going to be really pretty when I get into these other colors. And just by reading the description of other people that made this with mandala, they actually, I think they used 2 cakes, and they said they had to go into 2 cakes to get the width of the shawl where they wanted it. And so I do have 2. In fact, I think I have this one and 2 more cakes of the Wizard, I think. So anyway, stay tuned to see how this will be coming out. Oh, and I'm using an H hook. In fact, I'm using H hooks on a lot of things right now for some reason. I was using like J hooks all the time, but now this is an H hook, and the next item I'm going to show you is made with an H hook. Yep. And another item I'm about to show you is also with an H hook. So yeah, I'm using H right now. Okay, so that was works in progress number 1. Works in progress number 2. Since I finished the Scrappy Granny throw, I wanted to have another Scrappy, not Scrappy, but stash busting blanket on the go. So started another one. This is a pattern called the Circles and Stripes throw, and I will pop in a picture here so you can see what the original pattern looks like. Okay, so that is the original pattern picture. Now, I am, of course, changing it a little bit just to kind of accommodate for the amount of yarn that I have that I'm going to be using in this project, because I'm aiming to use up stash without having to buy more yarn. Okay, so the main color that I'm picking for this project is the gray, just like in the picture, because I had gotten a package of mill-ends. It's got some fluff on it. Mill-end worsted weight yarn in this dark, like a charcoal. It looks like black, but it's actually a charcoal gray type color. And I had a whole pound of it, big package. And so I wanted to use it. And I saw that project with that dark gray background for the main color. And I thought, oh, I could use it for that. Okay, so that is the color I'm using for my main color. For the circles in that pattern, I've done 3 squares so far, and so this is kind of gives you an idea what it looks like right here. Okay, so I've used just 1 color so far, and I've got 3 done. Okay, and I've gotten the background color. As you see, there's a 1 row of white that sets off the circle from the main color. Okay, now the other colors that I picked out 4 colors to make circles with. Okay, so you saw the blue, which is this one. This is Caron Simply Soft, and it's cobalt blue, and I had 4 skeins of this. Okay, so I picked that out of my stash. So to go along with this, the green, to go along like with the green that was in that pattern, I picked this green that I have. Now I have 2 skeins only, I believe, of this, and this is chartreuse, and it is Caron Simply Soft. Okay, this is, as you can see, I got on clearance, both of these. Yeah, clearance. Okay, and then so I have those 2. There's the green and the blue. And then I thought, well, what else would look good with that? Well, I have 2 skeins of this grape, and so I decided to add that to it. Okay, and then I thought, well, maybe I'll add a 4th color and just do 4 different colors of circles. And so I have this color of yellow, and so those are the 4 colors I'm going to be using. This color, this is all stuff I got off, marked down at Walmart when they had a clearance. This one I have, I've got a label for its mate, and this is called Super Duper Yellow. Okay, so that are the 4 colors I'm going to be using. Of course, I'm going to be aiming for lap gown size, so I will not make as many squares as it calls for in the picture, the actual pattern. Now, for the bars that go around, as you see that they're stripes, okay, it just depends on once I get the squares done in the side, and then, which will probably be 4 squares by 5 squares maybe, or 4 by 6, depending on the size when I lay them out. Okay, so I don't know if we'll see how much yarn of this that I've got left over, because like I said, of these 3 here, I've got 2 skeins of them only, and then the blue I have 3 skeins of, and so it just depends on how much I have left, whether or not I do those striped bars around. If I don't, no problem, I will just come up with some other border to finish it off with. Okay, so now another thing, the pattern calls for using an F hook, which is 3.75 millimeter, and I did not want to do a blanket with an F hook. That just seemed too small. And so I'm using an H hook, okay, and that is making a square that is 8 inches, 8-inch squares, and the pattern, I think their squares were 6-inch squares. So if I do 4 across, that would be 8 times 4 is 32 inches, and I'm aiming for probably, I think I saw a wheelchair blanket is supposed to be around 30. Now I had it and I forgot. It's either 32 by 46 or 36 by 42. I forget now. I looked it up. But anyway, so I'm thinking 4 across with the border will be wide enough for a wheelchair blanket. So anyway, that's what I'm going to be doing with that. And I think that's going to be a fun, colorful project. Now, where I got the pattern. Okay, so I have ordered, this past year, I get a subscription to Crochet World magazine, and so of course if you have I keep wanting to say prescription like medicine, no, subscription. But if you have a subscription to a crochet magazine, usually you will get in the mail advertisements to other magazines and things that they have. Okay, well, I had gotten an advertisement, I guess, or an email or something, but there was a deal where they had it's this series of magazines, and they are put out by in conjunction with Crochet World and Crochet Magazine, and I think it's like Annie's special patterns.com or something. I will put the link to that below as well. But anyway, where you get this quarterly set of patterns in a magazine, and they have a theme to it. Like, as an example, this is the newest one I got, and it was called All-Time Favorite Pineapple Crochet, and the whole entire magazine has pineapple crochet, the pineapple pattern, used in different projects. Okay, so this one was one, it's like a quarterly or seasonal, like this is the spring 2020 one. This one right here was crochet workshop, and it was, I think, for the fall. I don't know, but yeah, it says October 2019. But anyway, it was this one, and this one was a really interesting book. I enjoyed it. It's 20 plus learn as you go design. So there's different things, like there's corner to corner. There is some tapestry crochet and how to do it. There is, I think that right there is the broomstick stitch. Anyway, there's like I said, 20 different projects of different types, and that was what I got for that one, that seasonal set. And then I got this one, and this was called Crochet Home. I think this was the first one they sent me, and it is stuff for the home, you know, like baskets and throws and decor items, home decor items, stuff like that. Okay, and then anyway, so when you got, I did it again. When you got subscriptions for this, you also got access to some of the older editions that they had, digital access that you could download those digitally. And so one of them was like scrap crochet projects, right down my alley. One of them was, what's it called? Now I don't remember, like fireside something, or I can't remember. It was like some cozy name. I don't remember. But anyway, so this Circle and Stripes throw is in that one. I don't remember, but I will link it below. Anyway, they're pretty cool magazines. I enjoy. I got them last year. I think my prescription, I did again. Subscription ran out. So, but I still have these in the ones I downloaded to use. So, anyway, big long description about that. But this is Works in Progress number 2. And the story behind it. So, okay, number 3 for Works in Progress is another amigurumi, since I finished the rabbit, so I had to start another one. And I have a little tip for this one too. Okay, so everybody, I'm sure, has seen the Timothy the T-Rex pattern that has been going around for quite a while. It is a pattern, paid for pattern. You can get it off of Etsy. It's by Kelsey Liggett, something like that. I will link it below. Anyway, I bought the pattern because everybody said, oh, they loved the pattern. It was so fun to make. And so I thought, oh, well, I'll get it. So I bought it, downloaded it, and just kind of, it's been sitting in my computer. Well, I got the opportunity to make it. So that's what I'm working on now. So I'm working on my own Timothy the T-Rex. So here is my progress so far. I really love him the way he's turned out. He's so cute. So all I have to do now is I have to do his tail, which has some stripes on it. I have to do the feet and his arms, little arms. But anyway, he's so cute. He called for 10 millimeter eyes, and I had 12 millimeter eyes, so that's what I used. Now, my tip is when, of course, it's a paid-for pattern. I'm not going to tell you the stitches or anything, but there's some decreasing right in here to get that chin, okay? Well, when I did that, you could see holes, you know, which is normal for decreased stitches. And so what I did is when I was stuffing him, and I was stuffing this section right underneath his chin, I did not want you to be able to see the white stuffing. So what I did is I used some of the yarn pulled from the other end of the skein because it was still attached, and I used a pretty good size wad of that yarn, the same color, you know, the green, the same yarn, and I stuffed it with that. And so that way, underneath his chin, you don't see white stuffing. Now, I did that again right at the bottom when I was decreasing and sealing him off. Then this whole top section right here, the last of the stuffing, is some more of the green yarn. So that way, you don't see the stuffing when you're doing the decrease, and you have those little bigger holes when you're doing decreases. So anyway, just a tip. I like to do that with all of my amigurumi as long as I have enough yarn left over to be able to do that. So yarn to spare. Okay, so my yarn that I'm using is Mainstays yarn from Walmart, and is their green. It reminds me of spring green in Red Heart or glowworm, something like that. It's a bright green, but it just said green, I think, on the wrapper. Like I said, it's the Mainstays yarn. Okay, and then this blue, it's just, I don't know, it's just this bright blue. It's very pretty. I like the color combination. But these stripes is some yarn. I don't have it in here with me, but it's some yarn that came in a Annie's. I used to belong to the Hook and Needle Club from Annie's, and it was some yarn they sent me to make some baskets out of, and I didn't do the project, but I kept the yarn, of course, and I thought, oh, I'm going to use that because I thought it looked good against this color green. So that's what I'm using for the stripes, more than one. So anyway, I am ready now to do his tail and the rest of his feet and stuff, and so that way he'll be able to stand up rather. But I think my Timothy T-Rex is very cute, and I enjoyed working the pattern. You put these stripes in as you're making it, so but like I said, I think it was easy. It was easy to follow. So if you haven't made a Timothy the T-Rex and you want to try it out, I encourage you to do so. Okay, next, last works in progress is my Granny Summer Bag. This is a pattern by Yarnspirations. Okay. I showed this before, then I didn't work on it for a couple of weeks. Well, I worked on it a little bit more. I'm still in the making squares phase of the pattern. I will pop in a picture here of this summer bag, what it's going to look like, okay? Okay, so my squares, I have to make 13 of these squares. Here are my squares, and explanation about the yarn. It called for Karen cotton cakes, and I couldn't find it at the Michael's I was at, so I ended up getting sugar and cream stripes because I wanted a striping yarn, and so I got this one, and this is called Lilac Stripes, and I just thought that was so pretty. A nice summery looking color for crochet cotton. And so I've got a big stack. I'm just making the squares, and as soon as I stop one, I start the next one, and so the color combinations are a little bit different on them, you know, because I just keep on going. So they will be different, but it's all the same yarn, so they will be matching together. Okay, so I have got 4 more of these squares to make, and then I can put that together, that bag. This will be a great, I think it's supposed to be like a beach bag or something made out of cotton. You can put your towels in it or whatever you're taking to the beach. I will probably use it as a large project bag because I think it's going to be turning out pretty large when I finish it. These are like 7-inch squares, and so I think it's going to be a good size. It'll be a great size for a project bag for a blanket, or, you know, I mean, an Afghan or something that you're working on big. Okay, anyway, so that is coming along, and that's all my works in progress. I worked on a lot, finished a lot, so I had a good productive week. Okay, so upcoming, I have a couple of tutorials upcoming. I have one tutorial. I had a request to do a tutorial on the Flower Power Square. That is for the Yarnspirations pattern for this Flower Power beach bag, like this one that I made, which is also, I turned into a project bag, but it's the flower square, okay? Somebody had asked me to do a tutorial on how to make that square, and so I made one just to refamiliarize re-familiarize myself with the pattern. So here it is, and now I will be making another one and filming it. It's a very easy pattern to put together, and it's fun. I enjoyed making it. Use 3 colors. So be looking for this pattern of the tutorial if you want to follow along with it. I know some people are better at following a tutorial rather than reading patterns that are written, and so that'll give you a choice. Okay, so let's see. So that tutorial is coming up. I also had a request for me to do the squares for the rectangle and squares pattern. That's also from Yarnspirations. I did a tutorial actually following the written pattern for the rectangle, and somebody had asked me to do it for the square piece as well because she was having a little trouble reading the pattern. It's kind of a tricky describing pattern, I think, a little bit. And so I will be doing a tutorial on the small squares for those that are wanting to follow that pattern as written. Okay, the one I did was just basic granny squares, but this is the as written pattern, so I will be doing a tutorial for that. Okay, so that is coming up. I also, when I'm finished with Timothy the T-Rex, I am going to be doing a pattern review because the sweet Michelle Estrada sent me a pattern for her, sent me the pattern for her koala family and asked me to review the pattern for her. And so I said, of course, I would love to. And so she sent me the pattern. And so as soon as I finish the T-Rex, I will be doing the koala. I think it is so cute. I've seen the pictures of them. I think they're going to be really cute, and I'm sure it's going to be a fun pattern to put together. So stay tuned for that. Okay, so I think that's all. Yeah. Thanks so much to my new subscribers. Welcome. And to my subscribers that have been with me from the beginning, thank you so much for sticking around and going with me on this journey of yarn and all my projects. If you haven't subscribed, please do. I really enjoy sharing all the different varieties of things that I make, and come along and watch my progress on the things that I'm working on. And also I'll just mention I have a Facebook group, so you can go join that, and that way you can share pictures of what you're making and I can see what you're making, so that way you're not just seeing what I'm making all the time. And it's a great group. It's growing. We're getting close to 1,000 members in the Facebook group, so that's real exciting, I think. So go on over there and join the Facebook group and share what you're working on. We'd love to see it. Okay, and I think that's it, guys. I hope everybody has a wonderful weekend. Stay tuned for those tutorials that will be upcoming in a few days. And that's it, guys. So we'll see you in the next video. Bye.